for September 1, 2020 to order. The first item on the agenda is the public hearing for 16 Oak Street, Pamela Governal, and it's for a special permit request for an accessory dwelling unit. So do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I, Michael Gee, will make that motion to open the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Mary Quinn will second it.
All those in favor?
Michael Gee, aye.
Okay. So if the applicant said make a presentation, and do you have the plans, Pamela?
Christine, you have the plans?
Yes, and I have them. I can share the screen.
That would be great.
Okay, I had a few other items that I wanted to share first, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Sure.
Okay, great, thank you.
Christy, it says your microphone's off.
There. The plan that is on the agenda is not the updated plan. So I'm gonna, while you start, I'll see if I can get the updated plan.
Okay, so I guess I'll go ahead and start. And well, hello again. It's nice to see you all, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm grateful that we've come this far, and I look forward to providing you with more details about my project. And I'd like to begin by introducing my fiance, James Kozlowski. And I want to draw your attention to this image. You've seen this before. The garage, as you can see, was probably built in the 1950s, purely as a functional outbuilding. It's not in keeping with the historic character of the house or of the neighborhood. And I don't know of any other freestanding garages on this side of the street. This structure has no historical value, and it is visible from the road. And this is the structure that would be replaced by the proposed carriage. Oh wait, I've disappeared. Sorry. This is the structure that would be replaced by the proposed carriage house that I will describe to you shortly. And I wanted to share with you the neighborhood context. As you can see, the positions of the houses and the structures on the neighboring properties here. The schoolhouse is notated with the red pin, just so you kind of have an idea of where the structures are situated. And this image shows the volume of trees between my property and the estate behind it. And here is my property and the neighboring houses. I've outlined their sheds at the back of their yards, and the green dashed line is a very rough approximation of the location of the proposed carriage house. And this is the view facing west. Again, there's a thick canopy of trees, so you can't see the house that is behind my property. You can't see the house through that or the other buildings that are there. As part of my research, I looked at numerous houses in Rhinebeck Village and the ones that have accessory dwelling units. And I noted that most of the houses are more ornate and the carriage houses have a more simple design. So my proposed design would be in keeping with this character. And I have here just a few examples. And so I would like to share with you design details that include the lighting, the siding, the garage doors, the color of the structure, and the plantings as well. Here, I think that you can see the plan pretty well. In the middle of the property, it kind of as a screen between this structure and the schoolhouse would be a screen of birch trees. At the south corner of the garage, I envision planting lilac. And along the south side, more lilacs and or several bayberry shrubs. The window style would be double hung in the same style as the image here on the left. And the garage doors will be this barn style, as you can see in the image on the right. This one is called Coachman by Clopay, which is one that I'm most interested in. And this is the style of the dark sky exterior lighting that I have selected. And I selected a color cottage, a dark blue hardy board siding. The trim would be the same color to keep it visually simple. And
Is that smooth hardy board?
that is the smooth hardy board.
Okay.
And again, this is the vision for the property. It certainly is a great improvement over the garage that currently exists. And with that, I would like to invite Christy to talk you through this.
So you can see this is the, I don't know if you received this. We gave this before the submission deadline, but this is not the document that's attached to the agenda. I don't know why. So this is our newest revision, and I'm hoping you've seen this for the last.
This is dated August 24th?
Yes,
Okay, yes.
good. So it's the same building you saw last month. We've just put some more detail on here in terms of labeling the elevations with our materials and our door styles, window styles, and then putting our landscape screening on our site plan, showing our propane tank location and our heat pump location. I think the parking we already talked about. So I don't know, do you have any specific questions for me or anything you want me to talk about in regard to the site plan?
John Fenton had a question about the propane tank. So is this their new location?
Yeah, Christy, we had some concerns that the propane tank might have been inside the setback.
Oh, did you stop sharing, Pamela?
Sorry, I don't know what I just did.
I can share.
Here, let me fix that.
See if you can zoom in on that one section.
It says I can't share while you're sharing, so.
Oh, let me just fix this, sorry.
Can you see the screen now? Can you
Yeah,
see-
that's the screen. We just got to zoom in a little bit.
Can you zoom in, Pamela?
Zoom in on the image on the right. Is that the idea?
Yeah, on the right, the actual site plan itself, the parcel, and then go to the accessory unit. The accessory unit has, you can pull that down a little bit. It's got a propane section right there, right where, yep. And so that there is within the setback. And that was our concern. It is part of the utilities, which is attached to the structure, which is then considered part of the structure. Tim Decker mentioned it, but I thought if it was underground, it wouldn't have been a problem, but these are above ground.
Okay.
So we thought that those units, those tanks, supply tanks, would be moved further west. And you have some room in the back. You just have to run a longer line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
that sounds fine.
everybody on the same page?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was being moved towards the back where there was some additional space.
Okay. I thought that the propane tank was allowed to be in the setback and it was just the mechanical system itself, the compressor that had to be not in the setback, but that's fine. If the propane needs to be not in
Yeah,
the setback, we can slide it further back.
that's how we've been doing it, Christy. Past practice, anything
The
within
southwest
that setback.
corner.
Got it.
there any other, like, air conditioning units or anything?
You can-
Central air units?
You can see where it says heat pump location. It's in towards the back third of the building. It's not in the setback.
Okay,
That would be mounted to the side of the building.
Okay.
okay. Brian, do we have any members of the public who would like to speak? If you do, if you move your mouse, you see a chat. You can click that and say, Ryan, let me talk. Or you can press react. If you click reactions, you'll see a hand come up. It's a clap, and that'll wave your hand, and Ryan will see that. If anybody has anything to say. If not, we can close the public hearing and continue with our discussion.
I don't see anyone raising their hand, or no
Okay.
one has sent me a chat message.
Okay. All right, can I have a motion to
Make a
close the
motion to
public
close the
hearing?
public hearing.
Tim, okay.
Make the motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor?
Michael
Aye.
Gee, aye.
Mary
Aye.
Quinn, aye.
David Miller, aye.
Tim Decker, aye. Did we
John?
lose John Clark?
I don't know.
Aye.
Oh, we gotta turn his mic. Okay, so let's continue. Now, the windows, are the windows all good? They're all vertical versus horizontal? There's some windows that are doubles and triples. Are those okay?
Those are all double hung windows. They're all vertical orientation. Yeah.
The building looks great. I mean, my only difficulty from the get-go was the mass of it. And you got the
Right, the
variance
ZBA,
from the zoning board, so, you know,
no comments on
you
that.
moved it away from the setback, so I don't have any problems with anything. In fact, I think it's a very nice looking building.
It is.
I just wish that the house that it's adjoining was bigger.
That's moot now. So does anyone have any other comments on this?
I'd just like to say that the presentation was really good in terms of I guess, photoshops of seeing where the neighboring houses was in the tree canopy and the colors. It was very thorough, and I wish everybody would be this methodical and well prepared when we're seeing stuff.
Well, we don't require people to hire architects and engineers. Some people come in with pencil drawings, and that's acceptable. But this was a nice presentation.
That was all Pamela. I only did this one page.
Okay, so,
I have one
okay.
comment or suggestion, I guess. Everything you've shown me is great. I don't have any problem with it. Is there a possibility of putting a couple street trees out near the sidewalk?
John, there are 2 street trees out there on the street that the village planted.
Is
They're
that right?
pretty substantial. They're huge. I'm looking at them right now.
They
Okay,
actually block the view of the house from the road. So all the photos I took were on the inside of those trees. It's
okay.
Zelko.
They weren't on the site plan, so as long as there are street trees, then that's fine. You could trim them up so that they're more transparent from the street view if they're large enough.
Any other planning board members have any more comments?
Just that I've been very impressed with the presentation and the project from the beginning. Good luck.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the special permit for the accessory dwelling unit?
I'll make that motion. Michael Gee.
Do we have a second?
I'll
Second,
second that, Mary Quinn.
All right, John Clark and Mary, it was a photo
It
finish.
doesn't matter, John, go with it.
Okay, can I have a verbal roll call?
Michael Gee, aye.
Mary Quinn, aye.
David Miller, aye.
Don Clark, aye.
Tim? Hello, Tim.
I said aye. Whose phone is ringing?
Okay. I don't know, not mine.
That was mine. I think it's the Poughkeepsie Journal trying to sell papers.
Okay, all right. Commission, it's approved. Good luck. And we're done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night.
Right, the second item on the agenda is the Beck at 6378 Mill Street. Now, I had queued up a couple of those things. I don't, if Brian can let me share, or if the Beck people have photos they could share, or if not, I can share them.
Aaron?
Yep, Ryan. I do have, I'm simultaneously on my phone and on the computer, so I just have to get on the computer and then I can share my screen if you don't have them handy.
I have them if Ryan lets me share.
If you want to share, David, go right ahead.
I'm not sure where would they go now. I don't see them. Wait, is that they're open? I guess it's not what they look like. Basic advanced files. I can't find them now.
Okay, let me see if I can join real quickly, and then I should be able to share my screen. Okay. I have the functionality to share.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So here, can you guys see?
I think you got to activate your video, Aaron.
Well, I don't have it. There's no camera here. I need the video to activate the computer. I shouldn't need it to be able to share.
All right, just try to share your screen then. Oh, it was here.
How about this?
There we go.
We're here. We're
There you
here.
go. That's
Good.
good.
Good. Technology. So from last time, I think the issue that we had was the size of the front lettering and the signage. So what we did is we came back and we were able to get the proper measurements and the proper dimensions in order to be below the threshold. So we initially started, we had 10.5 square feet to use. The upstairs tenant was approved for 4 square feet, leaving us with 6.5 square feet. So the overall dimensions were coming in at 6.44. Now this is inclusive of everything that you see on the screen. I do recall from last meeting that the only things that we were primarily concerned with were the middle, essentially the Beck verbiage, and the sign. And with just those, we're well within the 6.5. But again, with everything inclusive, every single line, we're coming in below as well. So we just wanted to be conscious of that 6.5 that we had left to work with.
So you did measure the building?
Yeah, and we were consistent with the 21 feet that the upstairs used as well.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments?
I think it looks nice. I think it's appropriate to the style of the front of the building. I don't have any concerns. I would make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of verbal vote? Michael
Michael.
Gee,
Aye.
Mary Quinn,
Aye.
John Clark.
Aye.
John Clark.
Aye.
Tim Decker.
Aye.
David Miller, aye. Good luck.
Well, thank you guys. I hope they're all that easy for you going forward.
Yeah, I hope so too.
All right. Ryan, can you stop sharing him? Okay, and 18 Garden Street.
Yeah, first. Knock me off of my feet now, baby.
Somebody's singing somewhere.
Yeah, that's my son.
Oh, okay. NRAF Photography, 18 Garden Street, the sign application. Now, John Fenton, did we get this cleared up in terms of,
All right, so the situation is that Mace Friedman still has an open permit. He does have a temporary CO, so it's kind of pending. He does have, and I believe Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the permit expires in about a month and a half.
It expires at the end of November.
Well, November.
okay,
So theoretically, that's his time frame. That's when he has till until he closes out that permit and receives a final CO, which he hasn't. Even though he's operating under a temporary CO, he's still able to do. He can operate, but he doesn't have his final CO, and he still needs that. So.
well, if you can inform him that he has to do this by the end of November, he'll pave the parking lot, shelter the dumpsters, put in a little park he talked about, especially before the asphalt plants close down. And then if he doesn't do that, well, he can get fined or whatever you choose to do. But he has to be notified. He has to do this. It's his responsibility to finish off the building. So I don't want to hold up Ann because he's not doing what he was supposed to do.
Right.
And if you have the C of O to hang over his head, then I don't want to penalize her or hold her up with her sign because we want to try to make him do what he was supposed to do. So I think we've all seen Ann's photography sign. We saw it last time. I don't think we had a
Well,
problem
it's
with
changed. I drove by today. It looks very classy. It's just curtains and the picture, the photograph is back. It's different from what it was last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I moved the photos back onto easels and took down like the paper "Yes, we're open" sign.
No, it looks very classy and very appropriate in my mind.
Thank you.
Yeah. So does anybody have any comments or?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call vote. Tim Decker,
Aye.
Michael Gee,
Aye.
John Clark,
Aye.
Mary Quinn,
Aye.
David Miller, aye. Congratulations, good luck,
Thank you.
and we're done.
Have a good evening, everyone.
You too.
Next item on the agenda is Grady CPA moving to Suite 3 at 47 West Market Street, and they have a sign. I don't know if we have a.
Yeah, I don't have a picture that I could share. It was with the application. I don't know if you folks have it there.
Yeah,
I unfortunately cannot access my emails, John, so it is posted on the website through eCode 360. If any members of the public wish to view it, they just need to search for your application, and it will be part of your file if it receives approval tonight for anyone to see.
All right, I drove by. It's not up yet, right? Or is it?
No, it's not up yet. There is a sign there from when we were across the street at 48 West Market. It's roughly the same size. But there is.
So it's on Oak Street. It's actually on Oak Street where the sign's going to be?
Correct.
Okay, okay. I think I have an
Ryan,
idea.
if you let me share, this has to come up this time. It's there. Can I still share? Here it is. Okay, so it's Titian Bond, 55.5 square feet. He's using 18 square feet. Titian Bond says his sign is 6 square feet. And it's going to look like that.
Oh, okay.
There's a sign on, is that sign on the door too included in the calculation?
That wasn't included in the initial calculation, but that was an additional application that I sent in on Friday.
All right, it's not worth it.
Does that exceed the allotted square footage?
Well, and that's the thing. The landlord's not really sure how much square footage I have. I think that's really the issue because we're on.
Well, it's kind of
not based. It's not based upon how much square footage you're using. It's based upon the square footage of the building, the front building on West Market Street, and then it's up to the landlord to divvy it up, however he or she feels they want to do it.
So Ty and Bond is using 18 square feet, and they're the only current sign on the building. Or
John or David, there's 3 signs that say Ty and Bond on that building. There's the main one in front. Maybe that's 3 by 6. It looks a little bigger to me, but it's in that neighborhood. Then there's 2 other ones on 2 doors that they look like they'd be 2 or 3 square foot total between them. So
the sign is the main sign 6 square feet. I don't know how big the window sign is, but it seems like 55 is a pretty big number.
yeah.
But we should get Ryan or John Fenton. We should get an accurate, updated measurement for this building. But clearly, he'd fit under the 55 feet. That's an enormous amount of signage.
And the building frontage would be the frontage on West Market Street.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah.
It doesn't go the corner and go up Oak Street.
Right.
Well, I mean, the maximum allowed square footage would be 30 per sign. I got to look. Where's John Clark? John, what's the issue with a corner building? Do you get to max out both sides?
I believe it's just the street frontage. The address street frontage.
It says, in the Village Center and Gateway Business District, each building shall be limited to a total sign area of 1 square foot in area for every 2 linear feet of public street frontage occupied by the front plane of the principal structure.
Right.
Okay.
That's a very big building on.
Not exceeding 30 square feet of visible surface. So they have 30 square feet.
Is the max, right? Yeah, for the entire building. So if I don't know if that's an accurate number for Ty and Bond, but so 30 is the base number. Subtract out the 18.
Can we go down to the sign itself?
So where'd 55 come from?
Hold on. So if I'm reading, the bottom of the sign is 86 inches, and it's a 3-foot sign. Is that correct?
86 inches, that's from the sidewalk.
Right. And then it's the sign is 6 by 3, so 3 foot would be that. So that would put it above the 10 foot.
Yeah, no, mine's 4 by 1.5. So my sign's only 6 square feet.
It says 4 by 1.5.
All right. All right.
Well, this is 4 by 1.
Yeah, if you go to the bottom, the dimensions are at the bottom of it right there. The sign is 48 by 18 and the door decal 15 by 24 inches.
So that's
24 total, but I don't know.
That's less than 10, that's like 7 or 8, that's like 8 square feet max, right?
John Fenn?
Yeah.
I think where the 55.5 square foot came from was the property manager measured the frontage that exists on Oak Street.
Oh,
That's not,
Because
Yeah.
that's where the access is going to be for Grady.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of confusion on this one. Why don't, I know I hate to table it, but we're not getting any accurate information here.
we have to get this calculation correct, of all the tie and bond signs and all of these signs, to be able to do this right. We're gonna have to get this done and then come back. It's a quick approval, but come back on the, was it the 15th?
I mean, for record purposes, we have to have accurate numbers.
We do.
I mean, and so John Grady, just to correct me if I'm wrong, the code is pretty clear, but do you know if the property owner measured along Garden, or was it West Market?
Oak.
I'm sorry, Oak.
It would, if he came up with 55 feet, there's no way that's
Right.
not West Market. That had to be Oak.
Came around the corner.
Well, the
I
application
gotcha.
actually says 111th Street building frontage, 55 feet, sign square footage based on that 111 if you go up. So I don't know if the front in West Market Street is 111 linear feet or not.
No, it's not. It's longer along Oak than it is on West Market. Ryan, you don't have
Well, there's
anything on
also
tie and
a maximum
bond.
amount of signage, isn't there?
30,
Doesn't the code max the amount of signage to a piece
It
of
would-
property?
30 square feet.
Right, so we need to know, since this is not a single occupancy building, the allocation of those 30 square feet.
Yeah, because is
And-
there vacant space in the building still?
If the property owner wants to give this applicant all 30 square feet, they have a right to do that.
But if there's more vacant space in the building and someone else comes in and wants to put up a sign, it's a
Then
problem.
they'd be out of luck, right?
I think they gave all their square footage away to tie and bond. That's what I got to check.
They may have to take away some of the window decals if they want to free up some space. I mean, there is still space. I don't know how much in there, but I don't think it's a tremendous amount of free space in the building. I think most of it is rented to Ty and Bond and Grady.
Yeah, there's a small piece behind me. But yes, there is an additional spot that they have not built out yet.
Well, they wouldn't have any signage left over. But unfortunately, we're going to have to table this, and John and Ryan are going to have to clarify the square footage, what the tie and bonds, the square footage is, what's left for you, and make it clear to the owner of the building that if we do all of this and adjust these two signs, there'll be no signage left should he rent it a third tenant in there.
Well, how many square, so it is 30 feet, 30 square feet,
It's limited to 30 square feet for the building.
but it might be less than that depending on how,
It could be less than that if it was smaller than, but my guess is it's probably someplace in the neighborhood of 60 feet across the front of that building.
Right.
A fairly wide building.
Yeah, I think your numbers are pretty accurate. I just don't know what Ty and Bond has taken so far from that original number.
They got their main sign on the outside of the brick. Then they got a decal on the front central door that looks like it's maybe 2 square foot. Then they got another decal on the far right door that looks like it's under a foot.
I mean, if it isn't,
We need all those measurements.
Right.
We need those measurements. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to, have Ryan and John figure this out, talk to the owner and calculate what's going on, and inform him that should he want to rent the third space, there'll be no room for signage unless, of course, they're
I
going
know.
to go for a variance.
Because the thing is, John, I mean, it's cutting it too close. I mean, just those numbers being thrown out by Mike D. It looks like they might have occupied 24 square feet, leaving you 6, but it may have gone over. So then that means either they're going to have to give up some square footage, or you're going to have to reduce your sign. And you're not even including your door sign yet on this, correct?
Yeah.
Well, no, the in the 6 feet, no.
Yeah.
But that's not a whole lot. I think the issue is going to be not only tie and bond, but I think that the other door signs were probably never approved, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Because the landlord had indicated to me that didn't need to be included, but it did. So I think they all lettered up the doors without getting approval from you folks.
Well, John
okay.
Ben's going to have to make it clear what's available, and then the landlord's going to have to make a decision if they want to give some space for you or save some space for the third tenant to remove some of those door signs, window signs for tie and bond.
Well, what we can do is I can have all this information sometime tomorrow, no later than Thursday. And if you want to put them back on the next meeting, we'll have everything cleared up.
I'm sorry, but we're going to have to do this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It doesn't surprise me, guys.
The way the world works.
Yeah,
It wasn't easy.
Especially when there were no exact numbers that we were working towards.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault by any means. We just have to have the correct count. Right away, somebody said it's 55.5 square feet. If that's what you're working with, then that was, bad number.
I know how to make 18 feet go away. We'll just make that sign go down.
Yeah, true. Make the sign down. All right, so I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to table this
That's fine.
back next time. Okay?
Okay, and that's the 15th, you said? Is that what I
The
heard?
15th, 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to go back. So the next item on the agenda is Adriana's bridal. And I'm trying to,
Weddings still occur?
people are still getting married at some distance. I don't know if you're allowed to kiss the bride without a mask on, so it's not clear. I think so. Do you have any renderings? If not, I'll try to find it. The bride, the site plan, the proposed.
I think you're going to have to Commodore this meeting, David, and bring up whatever emails you have.
Right. The thing is, I have to save them. That's the issue. So if I open them and then you couldn't see them, if I save on the desktop, then I can bring it up. And there's 3 of them. Is this the sign, the proposal, the business plan? I don't need the business plan.
Just go right to the
Floor plan.
sign elevations.
I don't think I need to sign that plan.
There is no sign. It should only be the floor plan. She's going to come back for sign approval.
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
Ryan. My graphic designer is unfortunately not complete with my logo and the sign, so I'll have to do that the next go around.
So if I go back to the meeting and I share the screen somewhere, this one, is this the 2 Grady? This is the floor plan.
That's it.
Yeah.
Why is,
Yeah, that's my floor plan. Well, I guess it's lovely to meet you all. I wish that we could be doing this in person, but we are. I guess I'll start by telling you all a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in the Hudson Valley. For the last 9 years, I've been in New York City, where I studied fashion. I did work for Vera Wang. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, but she's a very, one of the more popular wedding designers. So I worked for her for 5 years. And then I did some production work where I gained relationships with manufacturers and different designers. So now I'm back here. COVID has brought me back to my roots. And I've kind of always wanted to do something on my own. And this is kind of where I'm at right now. It just kind of fell into place for me. And I do have a lot of relationships with designers still that I gained through those 9 years of me being in the city. I know right now there are no other independent bridal boutiques in Rhinebeck. And
The one across the street went out of business?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, the Hudson Valley it's booming in terms of venues, and I think Rhinebeck can really be a one-stop shop with the makeup artists and venues and everything. And now having somewhere where you can go and get a gown as well could really be something that the village will benefit from.
Now, this is a by appointment only
Yes.
venue, right? So there's not a big traffic parking
No.
concern or anything. It's like one person.
Yeah,
at a
it'll
time.
be by appointment only. I'll definitely have, you know, a maximum amount of guests. I typically ask that brides don't bring any more than 3 people, just because that kind of, you don't want too many opinions for things like this anyway. So yeah, there'll not a lot of traffic, and the maximum amount of appointments per day would be about 4 on a busy day, maybe 5 on a Saturday.
So John, is this retail to retail?
Business, and what was in there was retail. What was the previous?
Right now, Latua Bella is there. It's a salon and makeup,
right.
Who I actually have a really close relationship with as well. She was voted one of the best wedding makeup artists in the Hudson Valley, and we plan on working together and kind of, you know, pushing clients towards each other, which will be beneficial.
But she's
to both
moving
of us
elsewhere.
as well.
Yeah, I think it's the same use. It's
Right.
if
Yeah, she's
right.
moving down the street.
But I mean, you have clients that come in. It's kind of like a service. It's a retail and a service, because
Yeah,
not only
exactly.
right.
Yep.
Right.
So the good thing is it's not off the rack purchases. There's sample gowns and inventory that the brides are able to try on. And then if they do in fact want to buy something, we measure them and then order them a new gown that fits to them. So it's reorders with inventory replenishing every year. And then I will offer a styling service. You know, a lot of people want someone there on that day to, you know, make sure all is in order. So I'm going to offer that service as well, to be there as like a guide for people on their wedding day. I do have long-term goals to kind of eventually have grooms wear and evening wear and bridesmaids as well. But for now, I'm just going in with bridal.
This is retail to retail or service / retail to service / retail.
Yes.
Parking is not an issue.
Yeah.
We have
It's
the parking
this-
allocation.
So the parking rate
Yeah.
is the same?
Yeah, that remains the same. Yeah.
All right. So
Nothing.
The only real issue is when it's ready is the approval of the sign.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Unfortunately, you'd have to come back for that.
Yeah, no problem at all. I tried to get everything in order, but you know, she's very busy. So
Who's the landlord?
Joe Kurthoy and Kim.
Oh, okay.
okay, well, please try to get back to us with a sign before you open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before you put the sign up.
Yeah. No, I won't be doing anything without an approval.
Okay.
And then what, if you may want to read over the sign laws.
Yep, Ryan sent me everything that I need, so I do have all that
We
information.
just make sure that we don't end up in conflict later on
Yep.
Right.
in terms of signage.
Because all the signage the signs rules about, you know, things on the street and sandwich boards have all been suspended for this summer, but they'll go back into effect, God willing, if there's a cure for the virus for
Right.
next summer. So we'll go back to those plans. So I'm good. Ryan gave you a copy to read.
Yep.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about this?
So are we going to approve are we
Site
approving
plan.
anything tonight?
Yeah, I guess.
You'd be approving the business. moving in.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve Adriana's Bridal at 19 East Market Street?
So moved.
Do we have
I'll second that.
Michael Gee seconds it. All those in favor, Michael Gee,
Aye.
Mary Quinn,
Aye.
John Clark. John?
It's a cough.
Dave,
I'm
Jim
muted.
Decker,
Aye.
David Miller,
Oh.
aye. All right, good luck. Please come back with a sign before you
Will
leave.
do. Thank you all so much. Have a great night.
You too.
The next thing
Good luck.
is 108 Market. Now, I don't know whether I have that. Warren, does Warren have those plans?
Warren is here.
Well, they put in the steps and they
They
fixed
took
that.
off down the louvers on the side porch.
They took those down, yes.
Right, so I can show you the plans again that we showed you at the last meeting. You want me to do that now? Share the screen?
Yeah, I guess we have a technical problem with the
Okay.
internet at Village Hall.
See if I can find it here. Hang on. It's not working. So can you see the screen?
No.
No.
Not
Okay.
yet.
All right, and go
I
back
have to
to.
click the green button.
Yeah, let me go back to the Zoom meeting. It's not showing that. Come on. For some reason, I'm just seeing David Miller, but the Zoom application isn't coming up again.
Oh,
Figure what's going on
I
here.
don't know. I had a problem that bringing it up
Huh.
on my email was not good enough. I had to save it on the desktop, and then when I said, look, share it, then it was there and I could share it. I could try,
Yeah, for some reason, I'm seeing David, and then I saw Mary briefly, but I'm not seeing the whole Zoom screen.
do I have it,
We
Mulberry?
see you, Warren.
Amended site plan application, open it, and then I have to open it and save it. Save as on the desktop, save. And now it's there, and now I can go back to Zoom and I can share my screen. It's going to be one of those things. I think that's it. Right. That it? Jeffrey Main, yes.
Yes, good job, David.
I know you have to open it. Even I can see it. You can't see it. You save it on your desktop, then you go to your desktop. And is
Okay.
this all I have? Oh, this is just some words.
Well, it's a letter explaining what we're requesting and what Nancy and Jeff have decided to do. And so you mentioned a couple of them. They removed the screening from the side porch, which was discussed at the last meeting. And they've now built the stoop and steps at the front door. They are requesting that you permit them to keep the fireplace that was added, the chimney was added after the fact to the west side down the driveway. And if it hasn't been added already, we will add the rake molding, the cornice molding running up and down the gable ends that we had discussed at the last meeting. The one thing really that Jeff and Nancy are asking that you grant them is a waiver. The original design had a transom over the front door, and they decided that they didn't want a transom over the front door, and so we're asking that you consider amending the site plan to not require a transom installed over the front door, and that's basically the extent of the changes that we're asking for this evening.
Okay, comments from the planning board.
Well, the next time they build a house at that spot, they better put a transom in.
Thank
How's
you.
that sound?
I have a question. What percentage of that house remains from 1802?
None.
5 windows.
The windows.
Five, other than 5 windows.
Yeah, the 12/12 windows were salvaged. We had to piece together some of the ones elsewhere in the house to get functional windows for the front of the building. There were some pieces of beam that were salvaged, and I don't know if they were going to be used decoratively inside, but I don't know. Maybe Jeff can tell me if that actually happened.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. Some of the beams as well as some of the stone. The original foundation, the stone foundation, was also reused.
But that was it. We had discussed previously when the siding came off, which again had already been repurposed as sheathing. We looked at it and felt that there weren't enough lengths sufficient use to even use in the front of the house where there's several windows and so forth. So I mean that was really there were pretty limited elements in that house that could be salvaged, and certainly the windows struck me as one of the most important ones. But the house, as you recall, had a little octagon where the front door had previously been, and the porch that shows in the old photos was long gone. So we did, as best we could, recreate the massing of the front of the house with an addition at the back, but it's really a new house.
It's a new house.
Circa 2020.
Yes.
And that'll be what the sign will have on it.
No, it probably won't be a sign.
Not for at least 60 years, David? How long?
Right. 75 years, something like that, right?
80 years, yeah. We have to inform Neil Larson because he doesn't know this happened, and he has it down as 1802, a critical important building. I have to tell him that that's not. So his evaluation of the historic district.
Right. Buildings are removed from the state and national register if they are demolished. Yeah.
So,
I think they did do a good job on the building myself.
right.
Someone has a television on.
Are you okay with the front steps? The way they were, did you get a chance to look at them?
I did.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So as long as they meet code requirements?
Yep.
They do.
I assume there's some grading that goes in and landscaping around
There
there.
is some landscaping on the approved
Sidewalk?
plan.
And a little grading going down, okay.
Yeah, go to the
Are we-
garage. Oh, sorry, John.
I thought there was a street tree out front as part of the plans too, but I'm not sure. It goes back a ways.
To replace the one that had to come down.
Yeah.
That was, but it's going to be one of the ornamental ones because the power lines are on
The
that
wires
side.
are right there. Right. Yeah.
Right.
One other thing is the sidewalk will go across the driveway somehow?
It will.
In terms of,
Yes.
because I think it's currently paved all the way out to the street.
I'd have to check. Jeff, what they're referring to is where there's a sidewalk,
Right, there will
cutting
be-
across the driveway,
yeah.
the sidewalk needs to continue through over the driveway.
It
That's
can
right,
be
yeah.
concrete or a different material.
It will
It could
be
be-
a bluestone sidewalk with a concrete apron. If you can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah, Bluestone won't hold up on a
Yeah, I
driveway.
It'll be bluestone sidewalk with a concrete apron. So the concrete will be where it crosses.
You'll have to make sure it's a really good grade bluestone and thick bluestone, otherwise it'll deteriorate or crack for the driveway area.
At the driveway, correct. Right.
Yeah, if you walk around the village of Rhinebeck, you'll see that very few houses have intact bluestone in front of their actual driveways.
Right, that will be concrete.
Yeah.
And you're going to get to the garage someday. You haven't built the garages yet.
That's a separate issue.
That's a separate issue. Okay. Anybody have any other questions about the revised plans?
Since you mentioned it, David, I think they have the approval in terms of the setbacks for the garage
Yeah.
already, so that there isn't much more that we would do with that. And was there design already
Yes.
approved for the garage?
It was
On the
included
plan.
with the drawings.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just commenting it hasn't been built yet.
It has not been done.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
I'll do a motion to approve with the changes requested, the chimney and the transom light and the front gable molding, with the conditions that the sidewalk and the landscaping and the tree, front tree go in.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a roll call vote. John Clark,
Aye.
Michael Gee,
Aye.
Tim Decker,
Aye.
Mary Quinn,
I'd love to see a transom, but
David Miller, aye.
Thank you.
You did a great job in terms of, I would have loved to have seen the old house been restored, but understanding the condition of it, what you put up is an excellent example of fitting something into the neighborhood. Thank you.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
That's very nice of you.
Now we have a discussion. Someone has a television on somewhere. They are talking in the background. I don't know who it is.
John Fenton, is that you too?
Oh, okay. Guilty. Raise your hand if you're guilty, John. Okay. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the last
Thank you.
item on the agenda is a discussion about demolition of 6 Mulberry Street. And that, we have John Marvin.
Is that a Budweiser?
That is Polar Seltzer, cranberry lime, my favorite flavor. Oh, but it won't show it because it tries to erase it. So, John, what? John, we can't hear you. John?
You're talking to me. There's a couple of Johns
Okay,
here.
I'm sorry, it's 3 Johns.
John Marvin,
Marvin, we can't
hear
hear
John
you.
Marvin.
You
Your
sound
your
like Daffy
voice is
Duck.
all garbled.
So garbled.
You
Oh,
sound like a cartoon
Does
character.
anybody
you do
speak
sound
Jurassic?
like a Daffy Duck. Yeah.
that's
I
all right.
thought
Yeah,
that was
right.
Mickey
A
Mouse.
baby T-Rex, one or the other. John, do you have an iPhone or you can dial in? You can go to the meeting on the phone, and we can have voice on that. You can mute, or else you get a double. You'll still have the dinosaur going. If you have to mute your screen on your computer, your voice on the computer, and then have the voice on the phone. So we will hear you that way.
How come I can't get one?
Hey, what? I heard Mace.
There I am.
Okay. To fix John Marvin, I told him to mute his computer microphone and call in on the telephone, and then we can hear him talking because there's something wrong with this.
So, Maish, in the meantime,
Yes.
have you heard about your old place? The requirements for 1618 Garden?
No, what?
All right. So, Michael Gee, what's left on the punch list?
We have a paving of the parking lot and the driveway. We have a screening for the dumpster, and I believe one of our conditions was a small triangle of landscaping in the back. I can't remember which corner was that. I think it's in the southwest corner, as I remember.
Oh, I based on the drawings I have, Michael, the landscaping, we did exactly as we have on the drawings. I didn't notice anything that was left as far as landscaping.
I
The
thought you were going to have a
paving-
little seating area for the tenants or something. A little.
We are. There's actually, it's in the corner of the fence. I'm just waiting for, there's a picnic. It's like a picnic table with an umbrella,
Okay.
David, that goes in the corner on, there's a little, I don't know how to describe it. I think it's like a concrete platform where the old, where there used to be an old storage shed or something in that corner. That's the area we're using for a seating area. The landscaping was done in the front of the building. There's two planted areas to the left and the right of the front door. And then to the back, there's a, I don't know what you call it, a large garden bed that was planted that goes around the back of the building. That's the only landscape. That's the landscaping I have on my plan. I didn't note any other plantings that were required.
I guess we saw a dumpster enclosure and the paving of the parking lot.
The dumpster enclosure is scheduled to be done after the holiday, after Labor Day, that week, which would be next week. And the paving, he said he would do, Leroy would get to sometime in September.
Okay.
So that's both those things are scheduled to be done.
Good, because John, I think John, too many Johns. John Fenton said that you had till the end of November for your temporary C of O to expire, and then you could issue a new C of O if you finished everything on the.
That'll be
that
done.
sounds positive.
It'll be done well before then, David.
Good. John
Thank you.
Marvin is still trying to get his voice going.
John Mar, oh, I sent him a message to leave the meeting and try to get back in.
Well, I don't know how much we need him. I think maybe we can get started. I have basically the information that he has if we want to kind of move forward with the discussion.
Okay, well, here's why we're just having a discussion tonight. There is an 11-page document, I believe, that you must have a copy of it. It's Village Code 64-4, Historic Building Protection Law and applying for a demolition permit.
Yes.
And it requires, work. And then, like the 37 South Street, we had them, do work. They had engineer reports and architect reports, and they said the church had left it untended for 5 or 7 years, and the walls were coming down, the foundation needed to be done, and they got reports from engineers and construction people that said it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to stabilize the building, the foundation, the walls, the roof, before they could begin construction and then add on to it. And it was way more that would cost to demolish it and build a new building. And so it was granted, but still, even with that, it was granted by a 3-2 vote. So it's still a difficult process. So we're having a discussion tonight to talk about it, but you have to follow the law in this 11-page document and make a presentation to us. And I think you spoke last time about you knew the price of the asbestos removal if it was to be demolished, the price of the asbestos removal or encapsulation were it to be saved. And, I have an open mind, tear it down, don't tear it down. If you can present the case, according to this code as to why you're justified in removing it, then we certainly could hear the case and we could, the planning board could vote on it. But we haven't gotten any material from you yet. So tonight, that's why I put you down for just a discussion.
Correct.
So what would you like to know from the planning board? We had a preliminary meeting with.
Can you guys hear me now?
And
Yes.
give us some information.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
We can hear you, John.
All right. I've got you on the little screen now. I
Okay.
apologize for the technical difficulties. My Zoom has always worked on my computer until tonight.
Okay, well, John, this is Mesh. You just missed about a minute of discussion where basically David explained what we basically already know is that in order for the village to even consider the demolition of the building, they would have to be presented with, as is in that 12-page document, with some type of proof or evidence showing this is what it would cost, some type of engineer drawings or engineering report that would show that it costs this much to renovate the building or get the building up to some type of code, and it's not it's not financially feasible to do because this is the cost, and therefore we choose to demolish the building.
So wait, hold on one second, Mace. All right, 1 second. So it's not that complicated. There's a section 64-4, John Marvin.
Yeah.
And there's 11 items off of subsection C. And so these 11 items have to be basically supported from your application at the public hearing. So,
Or the Catholic Church would be doing this as the
Right.
property owner.
and that's it. So there are 11 items. You just basically got to go through each one and just answer the question.
I mean,
All right.
You can't just come here tonight and say, oh, okay, Michael Gee, how do you feel about this? Mary, how do you feel about tearing it down? None of us feel anyway. We're independent, we're neutral. If you can make a case, we still have a vote, and I'm sure it'd be, 3-2, 4, it'd be a mixed vote. But until you present the case, and then we have, then we have to have a public hearing, get
Right.
input from the public will say, oh, my mother went to school, you can't tear it down. It's an eyesore, tear it down, whatever. And then the planning board would have to, based on the case that you present, based on the input from the public, we'd have to take a vote on whether or not to grant the demolition permit. Then you would know where you stand.
Right. Let me just kind of give you guys, just to be completely transparent, we can go through those questions and answer those questions in advance of the public hearing. But to a certain extent, it's not like we're here to champion tearing down that building. And let me just sort of tell you what the numbers, at least for Maish, are going to show. There's really two options for him to look at buying this property. So right now we're under like our zoning due diligence, so we have an out. We can get out of this contract. But at the price point where we are, the only really viable use would be to have multiple apartments in that building as renovated. It couldn't be a two-family. It couldn't even be like 8 units. That's not going to give him a return on the costs, and Maish will get the numbers for you. And if it's torn down, that's another cost, and you have a different use, which would only get you about 5 lots into that property. So we would have to renegotiate that price with the church and get the price down. We could do that as long as we got a different price. But if we go through this procedure and the planning board says we deny the permit, then what we'd have to do is to get a use variance, which we know is very hard. But by denying the permit, you actually maybe pigeonhole into the very limited types of situations that you might justify a use variance, and that would be the ZBA, of course, with a recommendation from the planning board, or kind of trying to put a square peg in a round hole, getting us into what I talked about with John Fenton a little bit, is that planned residential development. This is the type of site that really wasn't thought about when that came up, but even with that, we would need significant variances to get the number of units in that building to get a reasonable return on investment. So if the permit's denied, we have to renegotiate our contract to get contingencies for significant variances for that
Right.
property.
So John, if in section 64-5C, it says if the planning board denies approval of the application for a certificate of removal or demolition, the applicant may apply for relief in accordance to procedures set forth in 64-6, basically on the grounds that the determination results could be a economic hardship. So that's where Maish comes in with his numbers and says, okay, well, this is what it's going to cost for me to get this thing up to code. This is what it's going to cost for me to rehabilitate this entire building. And that way, that cost may outweigh everything. And so that becomes your hardship. So I don't want you to think that you got a little wiggle room here.
Right. So, John, are you saying that 64-6 is different than a use variance? Like if we wanted to put 15 units in there, it wouldn't be a use variance, it would just be relief under 64-6?
I don't know that far. I would probably need legal counsel to answer that question. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it like it gives you a little more teeth in the demolition aspect of your proposal.
Right.
It doesn't relieve you from a certain use, but it gives you a little bit more support
Right.
in the reasoning of taking it down.
If I can
It
interrupt,
would allow you to convert it to something that was an allowable use within the unit, within the,
Yeah, but the allowable uses is going to be like a two-family, which
yeah,
is-
that's what I think that's, I mean, in an effort not to waste anybody's time, I mean, realistically, I mean, is the village going to allow that building to be renovated and have 12 apartments in it? Or is that just so out of the realm of anything the village would consider?
Are you talking about 12 apartments or 12 condos?
12 apartments or condos, David?
Rental units or,
rental units.
because the code talks about rental, two-family rental, with a rental unit. John, there's too many Johns here tonight. John Fenton, if they wanted to do 12 condos, that's 12 houses. Does that different from no more than two-family? Is that building not a two-family if it's condos?
A condo to me is a single family home. The only thing is, and that's a good point. I mean, so what then you would need relief from is the bulk regs on the areas. So the area variance, right, John Marvin? A condominium.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look into it, but yeah, that's a possibility.
I mean, John Clark, a condominium considered a single family dwelling unit? Or is it independent of that and it's a condominium which then gets grouped into, it's not multifamily.
Oh, I think it is multifamily. It's just ownership. It's like an apartment, only it's privately owned.
Well, I think we have to look at the definitions in the code, which I don't have in front of me right now.
There is no definition for condominium that I can see.
That might be something to look at.
Is run through the Secretary of State, isn't it? Isn't there some sort of approval?
Yes.
You have to do a homeowners association.
Yes.
Right, you have to.
Yeah.
And if you make it a co-op, you have to form a corporation and go through a whole thing
Correct.
with the Attorney General.
Correct.
But I don't know how condos work. Maybe it's the same way.
Similar.
Yeah.
It seems pretty clear to me that there is no uncomplicated process to do something with this building.
Yeah.
That it's either going to involve a demolition permit and a approval in terms of single family housing or a mix of single family and two family housing or something, or a variance or something along those lines.
Right.
And I guess I don't see any of those as being clean and simple process.
Yeah, this project is a real challenge for the two of you. You guys have to think about it and research the various possibilities. What would financially work out for you if you need 12 condos or 15 condos? If you can fit that in that size building. I don't know if you plan on adding on to the building. It's a big piece of land to make work on. Is that too expensive?
Well, we know two families are allowed. So if you look at it like this, the demolition aspect of the project seems to be definite. And then once you have that clean slate, you start off with maybe looking at it with 4 or 5, maybe 6 parcels, if you can squeeze it in there, and each parcel houses a two-family. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, your numbers are where they probably need to be.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is to convert that building into something that's allowable use-wise is going to be very tough.
Yeah. I can look back, before Mirabeau, you remember that was approved. That's Village Center, but that was approved at one point. I'm going to look at those definitions, John, at multifamily, both Johns, because John Clark mentioned it too. But I'll look at that definition and see if where we are and discuss that with you. But I hadn't really thought about that. To see if that comes in at a different, in a different way than a multifamily or single family residences.
Well,
If I can say something, first of all, I don't exactly agree with David Miller's original proposition that we all have an open mind here. Our job as planning board members, since this is in the historic district and at least 80 years old, we don't know exactly how old, but it's at least 80 years old. So I think it's a contributing building within the historic district. Our job is to try to save that building. So I go in here with the assumption that unless that building is falling down or has some structural problems or whatever, that's the only, as I know, the only, as I remember, maybe somebody can correct me, the only buildings we've allowed to be demolished are buildings that are real basket cases, that are literally not structurally worth saving. And this building doesn't appear to be considered that way. It may have a lot of expensive retrofit costs, but it's not falling down or structurally a problem, as far as I know. So my feeling is the planning board job is to try to figure out how to save that building so that it's maintains it as a contributing building in the historic district. Now, I'm willing to, I'm open-minded in terms of any sort of solution that tries to save that building. And I understand that there is a procedure that if you can come up with a hardship argument that we may have to go along with it just because of financial, but I think our premise should be that we should try to figure out a way to save the historic portion of that building, not the cinder block portion, but the historic portion of that building. I've suggested that, and I don't know if these filtered down to you because I think it was a previous potential buyer that we talked to, that a good solution for this in order to get your, say, 12 multifamily units that would fit in that building and make it financially viable, that you could go to the village board and ask them for an overlay district that would allow multifamily housing in special circumstances for a specific purpose like senior housing or affordable units or some other reason. And that then they could designate this site part of that overlay district in which multifamily would be allowed under special circumstances to save a historic building, for instance. I don't know if you've gone to the village board and asked them to consider multifamily housing as an exception for this property. And in order for it not to be a spot zone, I'm suggesting that they do an overlay district that would apply to other potential unique properties in the village.
John, the only thing is you got to be careful with that. I mean, obviously we don't want to do spot zoning. It may be easier. I mean, the least path of resistance would be to actually recognize the use of senior housing. And it would be ideal just to put senior housing in the residential zone district, which is where this parcel is. It's just a lot easier taking that approach because once you start to redesign and start laying overlays, spot zoning becomes a big flag, and you may want to try to avoid that. But we don't have anything in our use chart that allows for any type of senior housing. And as time goes on, it's more and more of a demand. So that's something that, you know what I mean? So that's something that, you may want to take a look at and that's not that far. I mean, the board
allowable use for that property. Isn't nursing home one of the allowable uses for that, which is sort of related to, senior housing that we need.
I mean, it's a cousin. It's a cousin of it.
It's a cousin of the nursing home. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, there is, and the research that I've done, there is quite a bit. Not that there's not demand for more, but there is quite a bit of senior housing I don't know if you call it adult living or senior housing, whichever you call it, in the Rhinebeck Red Hook area. If you consider, I guess, Brookmead, and there's another one, I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head.
No, but I'm talking about 55 and over independent apartments,
Independent
not
living.
a senior housing complex. So that, you know, you could address the need for apartments in a, you know, there's very few apartment buildings in Rhinebeck. There's houses that are owned by seniors, but not senior housing that is designated for that sort of population, in which they would have support services, and the back gymnasium could be turned into a
Rec
you know,
room or
some
something.
sort of
Yeah.
workspace or community space or whatever.
There,
I mean, that was,
So you could take John Fenton's idea and go to the village board and say, we want to include senior housing as an allowable allowable use in the residential district, and you could put in certain protections against this overcoming multiple parcels. They could say it has to have 2 acres of land or whatever acres you have in order to generate those 12 units. So that it would apply to your place, but it could also apply to another parcel that was over X number of acres. But I think myself, the residential district should have some multifamily allowed in it. If it doesn't, as it is, I think you could make the case that it's discriminatory against multifamily housing.
you know, John Marvin, I mean, there was a,
Multifamily housing in 2001 from the residential district.
oh, they did. And so, John Marvin, there was a previous potential buyer of the property. And he came in with the thought of putting in senior housing. And it sounded great. And, you know, and a few board members were on board with it, and everybody wanted to move on with it. Unfortunately, he was talked out of it from somebody who thought they knew the village very well, and was, you know, he basically just talked him out of it. And it was unfortunate.
Are you talking about the planning board or the village board of trustees?
The village board, you know, there was an informal meeting, and it seemed like it was the right way to go. And the applicant was all for it. And then I heard a couple weeks later that they basically pulled out because a local planner talked them out of it. And so it never went anywhere, but it definitely seemed like it was something that could have took off.
Can I?
So I just have two comments. Again, I disagree with John Clark. When you take away the front cinder block part, you have 25% of what was once a magnificent school building. So I'm not, you know, that invested in that small part of the building. But the issue here is just to give some ideas to the applicants, because this is millions of dollars at stake, and there are half a dozen or more ways to go with this. And there has to be a way that Maish would do this so that, you know, he makes some money. We're not saying, well, let's do this or do that, you know, a good contribution to the village. We want, you have to be a businessman, there's a lot of money at stake, and you have to be able to make money with whatever you do. And you guys have, you and John Marvin have to think about this, you know, which is the best approach. And then you can go in one of the different directions. You can talk to the village board, you can appeal to the zoning board, you can do different things. Because I hope we've given you some good ideas tonight.
Yeah, you definitely give us a lot to think about and to talk about. What I'll have to talk to Maish about it. One of the things that we don't have right now is time. Yeah. You know, we're going to have to, you know, basically our due diligence period, just so you know, ends a week from Friday. So we have to either, you know, I mean, but that means we go back and we, you know, tell them what happened, and we either have to pull out or renegotiate something, either some kind of extension or have a more, you know, more concrete game plan than what we have right now.
Is there a long line of people waiting to buy this piece of property?
I don't know. I don't think so. You know, we did know there was one potential buyer. But I think Maish might be the second one, you know.
I mean, it would seem to me that the church should be actively involved in this if they're looking to sell the property, in terms of making it as marketable as possible in terms of pursuing these options.
Right.
Rather than,
Yeah, we've been in discussion. I mean, I've been keeping, Justin Cole's representing the church on this. So I've been keeping him apprised of everything. I told him what we're doing. He knows what we're doing tonight. And he also knows, the different options that we thought of. Either we have X number of units minimum in the building, or it's a different price if it has to come down. So they're aware of that.
as we discussed in the meeting we had, the other issue that we have is it's a fairly prominent piece of property within the village. It's not like it's tucked away in a back corner someplace.
Right.
Where, I think everybody's going to have an opinion one way or another. So that I'm not sure that anything is going to slide through without taking a fairly extended period of time to work through all the details.
Yeah.
And that's just what I think the reality of it is, based upon at least what I've heard from people. And I've heard both sides of it. Some people could care less about the building, and other people are very passionately in favor of saving the building.
Yeah. I think I saw a note that Rachel Hyman Rouse, who's the realtor that represents the church, I think, does she want to chime in?
Yeah.
Right, I saw that.
Yeah. I don't know if she can be unmuted, but
I don't know if that's permissible concerning what we're dealing with here. This is a discussion. There's no formal public hearing. I would have to, this is a decision for the chair and for John Fenton. I think we have to be very careful on the legal parameters here.
I'm not sure how she's going to contribute to it, other than, this is the most that we've ever been talking about this. You guys are seem to be serious enough. You're taking our comments and you're utilizing everything that we all seem to be on the same page. We just got to figure out how to do this legally.
Yeah, that's the challenge, John. I think what you say is exactly right. I mean, we're definitely, I am very interested in finding some type of use and contributing something really nice to the village. And I think you guys are on the same page. The challenge is, how do we do it? How do we do it so that it makes sense, and also so that it's financially, economically makes sense? And that's the challenge. And
the thing. Go ahead. Who's that?
Because we have, it's a large empty building on a large piece of land right in the middle of the historic district, and all of us would like to find some use for it. Some of us reuse the building. Some of us maybe move to demolish it. I don't know how that would go at the end, but we want that property used and not just stay there empty forever.
Yeah, and I know the residents that surround the property also are very motivated to see something done. They don't like it at all, especially that chain link fence that goes around the rim.
That's for sure.
Tim has been complaining about that fence for years.
Yeah, so.
So it did keep the kickballs in when I was in elementary school there.
Yes.
Yeah. But remember, Tim, if you hit the softball over the fence, Mr. Cullen made you sit out for the rest of the afternoon.
I remember doing that many times.
I tell you though, John Marvin, if you take a look at some of our neighboring municipalities and you take a look at their use charts, and there's a demand for these type of houses, and so and I know, talking to the board and the mayor, we recognize that, even though I know Tim's going to be like, well, we just updated our zone code, but there are some new uses out there. Like there are like senior housing. We don't recognize that, so there is potential.
All right. We'll look at, and also I think Maish will have to do some research on that for like pricing and what do you get for it? Are you going to get the same return?
You have to understand, doing senior housing or adult living, either way, there's certain additional costs above and beyond if you were just going to develop those apartments. For example, you have to have an elevator. So now you
Oh,
have.
ADA is a big.
Yeah, no question.
Bathrooms, yes.
So it changes the whole design layout of the building when you get into those types of things. There's no question about it. It becomes a much more expensive project. Let's put it that way.
I think you have to look at all the possibilities, think of what you could do that you would not lose money doing this project, and then see how the planning board, the village board could help you, help you achieve whatever goal you were shooting for. Because a vacant house on a vacant piece of land is not something we want.
Yep.
As far as I know, and I can't be quoted on it, but this is what I've heard, is that the federal government has allowed 55 and older houses to be used as a restricted group, meaning adult housing doesn't have to be for wheelchair people or for the same as a senior housing complex. Adult living can be restricted to 55 and over without being considered discriminatory. And so you could do something there that is for active adults, 55 and over. That means it could be anywhere along that spectrum. If the village code would acknowledge that as a need in the village, to have places where people could downsize out of their house and into an apartment in the center of the village where you could walk to all of the services in the center of the village. This would be an ideal location for that, and I think the village board.
That was kind of our idea in the first place, was to take the building, do some type of, we weren't thinking adult living, but that's what we were thinking of, is putting in, 10 to 14 units and making it a place, like you said, where people can, leave their houses and have some type of, even adding some type of services of some type, using that open area as a green space, park-like atmosphere, and doing something along those lines.
Yeah.
And you might consider a combination when you talk to the village board, say subdivide 2 house lots along the frontage, along the main street there, and that building in the back with a number of units. So you could do a combination of single family homes and adult apartments in that building. And that way you could use the space more economically, rather than having a big green space for 12 units on both sides of the building.
I agree. I like that idea, John. I just don't know who else is going to go for it.
Parking lot on the corner, if that's a possibility too.
Yeah,
that's a lot of land that could have a house as well.
So procedurally, where do you guys want to go from here? I mean, if you set a public hearing, we got some work to do, but we don't even know at this point yet. I've got to go back to the church, with some concrete ideas of where we want to go and what we need to negotiate to stay in the contract. So, maybe, I don't know how, David, you want to go procedurally from.
You're not even sure you want to demolish the building.
Right. Well, remember the idea when we public hearing workshop was, let's get the sentiment of what people want to do, we have a couple more options to look at based on our conversation today. But some of the fundamentals are, if the building comes down, we can put up 1 to 2 family homes, about 5 lots.
Do we have any idea from you guys as to what the split is, or what the vote would be now? or we can't, that can't be done at this point.
We can't do that until
you can figure that out. You know what you can do?
Yeah, I can kind of guess. But
Mish, you can go for the public hearing. I understand that you guys are under a tight time limit, but you're going to have to let the church understand, listen, this isn't, you can't make this a quick decision. I mean, there's so many different ways to go with it. They have to understand your position. You're the only applicant that have taken it this far. So, I mean, you can go the one route of going for the public hearing, trying to demo it, get the feel from the public. If there's no resistance and that's an easy way of looking at it, then there goes your answer. But I think you got to commit to one or the other. And
Right.
the other choice is that you're going to have to get John to draft up a use for whatever housing you want to call it, and bring that in front of the village board. So you
Right.
would be going a whole different avenue.
Yeah, yeah. If you apply, if say we apply, John, this is maybe a foolish question. If we apply for the demo permit and we get the demo permit, does that mean we are now required to demo the building?
No,
No, not at all.
That's why I said to do it, and then give you an option in your thinking.
Yeah, okay, that's, I like that.
On these other things that John was talking about, if you get the demo permit, the idea of a use variance or planned residential development with variances are kind of out the window. I mean, we all know that use variances are rare, anyway. But if you were going to grant a demolition permit, then there's no way you'd ever get a use variance. Just you guys think ZBA couldn't get it.
And so you'll get a certificate, Mace. You'll get a certificate, basically the planning board allowing you to demo it. If you want to execute it, that's fine. If not, you don't have to.
Thanks.
Or John Clark suggested a mixed use. Trying to use, take off the cinder block, reuse them.
You need a demolition permit for that,
in the
though.
main building, and then build 4 or 5 houses around it. There are so many ways of doing this. You don't have to speak to Father Crawford and say you need more time. You're the only
They would need a
to
demolition.
work with you.
David, they would need a demolition permit to take off the block part of the building.
Yeah.
The block part of the building was built in the 50s or something.
Again,
That's not-
going for a demolition permit would, and at least framing the answers to those 11 questions would be a very reasonable step to take at this point.
Yeah.
Again, even if you're not going to, and I also like John Clark's idea if it can be made to work in terms of putting 2 houses on East Market Street, and then maybe you can do something with the remaining part of the Buckley School, and it will kind of be the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you try to, the whole village wants that property used, and if you could think of some way or some numbers and needed some kind of, variance, some ruling from the village board that people would be willing to work with you to make a project like this happen, whatever that project would be, because we don't want this thing just sitting there for the next 50 years.
Right.
There's got to be a lot of scrap value in that chain link fence. Figure into the.
Yes.
I'm in that business. I don't think there's much, but.
So I hope we've been some help.
Yes.
You have. Yes.
You have, definitely. Thanks, David.
Now you got to take your giraffe out and feed it.
Oh, you see him? Yeah, let me see if. There he is. That giraffe's been in my family for I don't know how many years. A lot of years. Anyways, okay. All right, guys. John, thank you. John, all the
Bye,
Johns.
guys.
Thank you.
All the Johns. There's too many Johns.
All the Johns.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.
We had,
Don, I'll talk to you in the morning.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
So we had some minutes. Ryan, did we have those minutes or?
I thought I was going to have the minutes. Unfortunately, because I cannot access my email, I don't know if they are there.
Well, we'll try to find out why the internet wasn't working tonight at the village hall. You guys can check in the morning. But we did it was a good, Ryan, it was a great improv on your part to get this working.
You're welcome.
My internet went out today, so I think there's problems in the village.
Yeah.
The internet.
We lost
Yeah,
internet.
I'm on Spectrum and I'm up, so but the wire's going strange ways in the village, and some people are out and some people are not for power, telephone, internet, So we can deal with the minutes next time on the 15th. Anybody else have any other comments?
We may need another minute keeper.
Okay.
The woman that was doing it, our village clerk, it's going to be too much. She's very busy doing what she's doing and her own minutes.
Okay.
So she will finish up the last two meetings, but this meeting, we're gonna have to figure out how to get them done. So Ryan and I are looking around, worst case if Ryan's got to do these, but we are going to keep an eye out, see if we can get somebody. We got to run it past the board also. I believe the village board. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did we do that last time with Larissa? Do you guys know?
I think they allocated some funds for her to do the minutes.
We weren't involved in the process, though.
No, we weren't involved, so I don't remember, but I think that's what was done.
Okay, then we'll have to go back to that process.
All right, any other questions, comments? We're all done. All right, Ryan, thank you so much for doing this on the fly and getting the meeting up and running.
You're welcome. I'm just glad that the internet was working at my dad's
yes.
insurance office, and I was able to spearhead this from here.
Yes.
Enjoy your little vacation.
Yes, enjoy your vacation, Ryan.
Thank you.
Talk to you next week.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I'll move a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. See you guys in 2
Okay.
weeks. Stay safe.
Anybody opposed?